couple weeks, it appears as though, right, they've been getting ready for something here in El Paso, right? I'm sure you guys heard about all the stories that came out of this little city, right? About the lasers they were testing out, and some goofball took a picture of the CBP blimp and said it was a UFO. I'll go ahead and get into that real quick. I'll give you. I haven't exactly given you my full understanding of what transpired here in El Paso the last 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. So really, this started off as I'm not going to say DOW. Okay, I can't. Department of War. I'm just going to say DOD. Please forgive me. Okay, it started off as a project with DOD and CBP. And they were going to start testing out one of the Locust laser systems in Santa Teresa. This is the way I understand it. They gave notice to the FAA a month in advance. Okay, they told the FAA that they were going to move this system from there's a UAS testing ground right outside of Las Cruces. It's like 10 miles down past Las Cruces off of Route 10. That's normally where they do their testing for unmanned aerial systems and stuff like that. Well, they want to bring it down to Santa Teresa and test it out down there. So they had to tell FAA, hey, we're going to be testing out lasers on drones down here in Santa Teresa. And so apparently they did. They gave FAA the heads up, 1 month heads up. Okay. And somehow FAA didn't pass the memo around. And then when it was time for them to go live, when it was time for DOD and CBP to go live, they call up FAA an hour before they're going live. They're like, hey, we're about to go live with these laser tests and everything down here. And FAA was like, no, you're not. And they said, yeah, we are. We told you a month in advance. And so we're going to do it. No, we don't care what you say. And they're like, no, you're not. We're closing the airspace. So they closed the airspace, and then they realized, oh shoot, they actually did tell us a month ago that they were going to do this. Oops. And then they lifted the flight restriction. Okay. And so then, you know, the timing of it was perfect for that guy that took a picture of the CBP blimp. See, anybody here in El Paso that's lived here for any amount of time would tell you that the image of the quote-unquote UFO that everybody was showing, Marfugel News was showing it. I mean, it was all over the place. I think Redacted showed it. Everyone showed an image of a UFO on the skyline in El Paso. Everybody here in El Paso was laughing at that, and nobody wanted to talk about that. Everybody here in El Paso would tell you that was the CBP blimp. It was a blurry image of the CBP blimp. It's been on our skyline for years. It's nothing new. And no, there was nothing coming out from the bottom of it. That was just hype. It was to hype up a post that went viral. And so anyways, that's what that was. Then a few days later, on the 13th, when I went out there and I was getting those readings from drones, I picked up, and keep in mind, when I went out there on Route 9 in Santa Teresa, there are no houses out there. There's no businesses out there. So that means there's no radio interference for me to be picking up. There's no Wi-Fi routers out there. I was literally out in the middle of nowhere. No houses, no businesses, no Wi-Fi routers for me to be picking up. Okay, so I was picking up drones. I picked up about 4 DJI drones, small ones. They were operating on 2.4 gigahertz, and I picked up their video feed at 1.3 gigahertz. They were far off, and you could see them coming and going on the spectrum analyzer. And then I picked up 2 long-range, presumably long-range, medium-sized drones, and there were 2 frequencies operating, or 2 active connections operating between 860 to 870 megahertz, and there was data burst packets being sent at 930 megahertz, and that's consistent with like your telemetry data. So your airspeed, elevation, heading, altitude, stuff like that. When you see the data packet bursts from time to time, that's usually what that indicates. And so it was very consistent with long-range, medium-sized drones. And presumably, they would have been operating inside of our air defense identification zone. So we quite possibly could have had 2 medium-sized long-range drones operating inside of the ADIZ, okay, while CBP and DOD are testing out a Lotus laser system right there next to where those medium-sized drones are operating. And so during that live stream, I picked up that 1.75 gigahertz signal. It was very strong, and it was frequency hopping. You guys that were there with me, you saw that. And I didn't know it at the time, but there are military-grade drones that the U.S. uses that operate on 1.75 gigahertz. I had no idea at the time, but I do know that when you see a signal that's frequency hopping like that, that indicates military radio communications that are taking place. Because not everybody has the capability to do frequency hopping like that, okay? And so then as we were recording that, that signal, we picked up that signal real strong, and then all of a sudden it cuts off, as though it just got shot out of the sky. And so we very well on that live stream could have picked up the moment that the drone was zapped out of the sky by the Locust laser system. And so that's cool. But then an hour after I got off the live stream, when I got home, the internet was cut off citywide. Spectrum internet was down, Verizon was down, T-Mobile was down. This was the internet, okay? I could still call and I could still text, but the internet was down citywide, okay? And then so then CBP gave El Paso Times a statement. They were like, hey, we just tested out a laser and somehow it shut down the internet, which is bogus. A laser, I can tell you this right now, a laser cannot and will not ever on its own take out the internet across an entire city. No, they also tested out some method to shut down the internet too, or they had some kind of kill switch here that they implemented. A laser beam is very focused. Okay, it's a beam of light. It's not going to interfere with Cisco routers and switches or server racks. That's not how it works. Okay, the light spectrum does not mess with the radio frequencies with the electronics, and it doesn't work like that. And so that was bogus, which is more concerning. Okay, and so then it begs the question, okay, because we've had those small drones flying back and forth from Juarez to El Paso for years, and it hasn't been an issue. Usually the El Paso PD takes care of it. Okay, we're talking about, drug runners dropping off some drugs on a drone somewhere and then flying the drone back over the wall. Usually that's something that the local police department takes care of. But now, all of a sudden, DOD and CBP are rushing to get a laser air defense system set up in Santa Teresa all of a sudden. For what? Why? Why is it a threat all of a sudden? Could it have something to do with the two radio signals I picked up off Route 9? Could it have something to do with those potential medium-sized drones operating on 860 megahertz? And keep in mind, 860 megahertz, 930 megahertz, that is consistent with a Chinese CH-4 drone. It's a fixed-wing, medium-sized drone, and it can carry military-grade payloads. Okay, so it is consistent with what they sell. That's one of the things that China sells. Okay, to their allies and military partners and everything. So it is, it very well could have something to do with that. And that's something that nobody's talking about. Everybody wants to talk about some grainy image of the CBP blimp, and they want to call it a UFO and say that there were that it was a mothership or something. Dude, let me tell you, at any given time here in El Paso, you've got thousands of people on the road, and this is a desert. Okay, you can see everything around here for miles. All right, anybody at the mall that saw that thing would have freaked out and would have gotten their phones out. Anybody on route tapped their phones out and started recording that thing if it was creepy. Anybody in Sunland Park would have taken pictures. I mean, anybody anywhere that could see the skyline would have been freaking out if there was a reason to freak out. But there was no reason to freak out. This dude just literally had some clickbait, posted it on Twitter at the right time, and it freaking went viral. That's what happened with that image. Okay, if it was a mothership dropping off tiny drones from underneath of it, a lot more people would have seen it. Damn, I mean, this is a freaking desert. You can see everything for miles and miles and miles. There's no trees to get in the way. Okay, so keep that in mind. But it does beg the question: why are they rushing to set up a laser system down there at Santa Teresa? And keep in mind, that laser system is right next to the AI data center that's being built. This is a huge AI data center. It's 1,400 acres, called Project Jupiter, the Roman king of the gods, king of the gods, and it's supposedly the god of law and justice. And now it has its own air defense system that can shoot drones out of the sky. Come on. This is coming at a time, and I want you guys to really pay attention to what I'm about to go into. This is coming at a time in El Paso where we've got 3 major FEMA detention facilities. I say FEMA, I mean DHS detention facilities in place. Okay? There's 2 more being built right now. Huge. They can each hold like 8,000 people. Okay? And then Trump put out on Truth Social that he wants to see how valuable NATO is and see if they will be able to deploy here at the southern border. So you've got detention facilities here right off of Amtrak. You've got Trump calling for NATO, a foreign military force, to occupy our border. And then you've got ICE rounding up millions of illegal immigrants that DHS facilitated. Don't forget that part. It was DHS that brought them in under Mayorkas, a subversive. Okay. And who are they hiring in ICE right now? They are hiring foreign contractors to work with ICE. These are foreign contractors that are instigating conflicts with people on the street. At the same time that they've got these foreign, very potentially provocateurs working in ICE, foreign agents, foreign provocateurs working in ICE, you've got attorneys generals all over the place that are telling the local population that if they feel threatened by ICE, they can shoot back. They are setting us up for an insurrection. They are begging us for an insurrection so that they can lock this shit down. Pardon my language. But it is blatantly obvious to me. It's blatantly freaking obvious. Let me say it again. Let me summarize it again. Trump put out on Truth Social, he wants NATO here at the border, a foreign military force. While there are half a dozen detention facilities down here along the border, 3 of them in El Paso, massive ones in El Paso. And then ICE is rounding up people that DHS brought in that don't want to assimilate, that are putting out hits on ICE. The DHS did this, okay? DHS is responsible for this. They brought foreign nationals in here who do not want to assimilate. They brought in Tren de Aragua. This is a guerrilla force, a Venezuelan guerrilla force. And now, that same DHS that brought this military force in here is hiring foreign contractors in ICE to arrest those guerrilla operatives that they brought in, and those foreign operatives in ICE are provoking conflicts with people on the street. They are provoking conflicts with people that are just carrying their cameras. And then you've got guerrilla forces from South America putting hits out on CBP and on ICE. Meanwhile, the district attorneys, the AGs of states, they're saying, they are telling their civilians, there are news articles telling people, if you fear for your life, you are allowed to shoot them. That is what these district attorneys in Arizona are saying. Senators are saying that. What's going to happen if that actually occurs? What's going to happen if one of these foreign contractors that's working with ICE decides to shoot a random person and provokes a bloody conflict on the street somewhere? You can't tell me this wasn't set up. It's bullshit. It's clear as day. Yeah, I can see right through it from a mile away. I don't even need binos to see through that. It's such bullshit. Don't fall for it. The best weapon that you've got in this kind of a setup, in this kind of a false flag setup, is your camera. If you see someone provoking something like that, you do whatever you can to identify the asshole that started it. Your best weapon in something like that is your camera. And you plaster it as far and wide as you can. That's how you respond to this kind of bullshit. Because that's the reality of where we're at right now. They are attempting to incite an insurrection here. That is a reality. You can see it by all of the pieces that they're moving in place. Your best weapon is your cell phone, is your camera. That is what I am encouraging people to do, is to take videos of anything that they see on the streets these days. Because they very, very well could be witnessing a false flag that is being carried out by foreign contractors operating inside of the United States. The outlook to me is very bleak. It's very grim. Okay. But I still trust God. And one thing I know is that American patriots outnumber every single military force on the face of the earth. We outnumber them in our ranks. Okay. We outgun them with the firepower that we have. Okay. We outnumber them. And I say this several times. We outnumber them. We outgun them. And then, as a matter of fact, we also outrun them. The average American patriot has a dirt bike, F-150. A lot of us have airplanes. We can go off road. You got four-wheelers, side-by-sides, boats. Okay. We're not then American patriots have what it takes to resist any other force on the face of the earth. I don't care what you throw at us. I don't care what it is. We're smart enough to deal with it. Send your robots. Send your robots. Send your drones. We'll make microwave cannons. We'll make spark gap generators that operate at the same frequencies as your batteries do for your electronics. We'll shut it down. I don't care. We got smarter people than the Viet Cong did. We got smarter people than the Taliban. We got more of them. We're better equipped. We're already here. We don't need to get behind enemy lines, so to speak. They could bring NATO down here. Bring the whole force down here. Incite an insurrection. Try to lock everything down. If we Paul Revered on them, we'd win. 100 times. Every time. Don't forget it. Do not forget that. So as it's obvious they're setting us up for this. Lockdowns, more viruses, with their freaking zombie vaccines and shit. Just say no. All you have to do is say no. No. They want to give you a blockchain ID because the real ID has some kind of vulnerability in it that AI can exploit. Just say no. Screw you. I mean, at this point in time, isn't it obvious? They don't uphold anything that they promise you. They don't stick to it. They don't stick to their words. They promise you the world, and they throw you scraps. They throw you table scraps like you're a dog. Anyways, be on the lookout for, war with Iran tonight. That's what it appears is going to happen. And of course, if that happens, it would justify any kind of false flag here in the States. You could see anything from, power going out to train tracks getting destroyed, or even oil infrastructure getting hit. I've said it 100 times on this channel. It has a kamikaze drone manufacturing facility in Caracas, in Venezuela. Still, they can launch suicide drones at us from Venezuela and hit the coastline where all of our oil infrastructure is. They said that they would do as much. So, I mean, they could do anything. And I've been picking up drones operating in the ADIZ, so medium-sized drones, potentially medium-sized drones. I mean, they're definitely on long-range frequencies, so keep that in mind. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to sign out of here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As always, don't forget, help out your neighbors.